2, I am recalling the meeting to order, Public Property and Safety Committee. Beginning with roll call 2.0. Ms. Hayes.
Here.
Steiniger is absent. Ms. Anthony is absent for now. Mr. Newton here. 3.0, approval of the agenda. Move to approve.
I second.
Do we have any discussion on the agenda? All those in favor?
Aye.
4.0, review and approval of the meeting minutes from the July 9th, 2024 meeting.
I so moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the minutes? If none, all in favor?
Aye.
Unopposed. Next, we have 5.0, approval of claims. We have claims on the public safety side, cash requirements of $156,746.69. Manuals of $192,584.38 for a total of $349,331.07. On the public property side, we have cash requirements of $73,839.49. Manual claims of $4,912.05. For a total of $78,751.51. Entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion on the claims? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. None opposed. 6.0, public comments. No public in the room. It's 7.0, reports to the committee. 7.1, Sheriff Stovall.
All right, Sheriff's report. On the hiring process, we have 2 that will graduate from the law enforcement PTI in August 22nd. Mayor commission interviews are being set up now within the next 2 weeks as we have some corrections of candidates that we will be interviewing. We currently have 65 inmates. Social service administrator is continuing to handle mental health situations throughout the county. Erica is spearheading a back-to-school event, which will be held August 10th at Cedarville Fire Department. It will be an event that will supply children with supplies, clothing. They will be serving food and having games during that day just to get the kids back to school. Crime suppression unit, I believe you all got the statistics, and that's my fault. I got them, and instead of forwarding them, I put them in my folder, and I forgot to send them to Georgia. So you did get those this evening. They look pretty good again. This month, I think we got 4 more guns. We have 2 for our unit, and then we're assisting with 2 others. LPRs, just waiting for the install. Again, it's just ready to go. Waiting for the Helm Group. Elevator project. Kona's been to the courthouse several times. Like I said before, we did discover at this time that the doors of the elevator are so old, and they were a different size than what they're making now. They cannot be replaced. So what they will be retrofitted to the new equipment. I did find that. So there will be a little bit of a cost savings, but the doors weren't that big of a deal anyway. I don't have a time yet for the work to start, the actual construction part of it, but they still are making progress with measurements and things like that. HVAC Helm Group is currently working. One of the 2 air handlers for the courthouse has now broken down. Helm is trying to figure out a fix for it. These units were not included in the engineering as they were thought to be okay. All I can tell you is these types of problems are happening. This is a second problem that we've had, just because we've got new equipment, state of the art that's being retrofitted to the old equipment, and adjustments need to be made. So I'll handle it the best that I can. The county boardroom audio visual update is complete. I'm now in the process of installing all the new lighting as a part of the energy grant that I have with ComEd. So there'll be new lighting, new audio visual. Once the lighting's done and the patchwork's done, as some holes were put into the wall, and we discovered some holes in the wall that were just covered with a TV or a picture, all that's being fixed. And once that's done, the painting will start on the whole room, and then carpet will be done from where the chairman sits to where that little wall is. And then I'm hoping to have as part of a supplement for this year, new benches for the back. And what the idea will be is to separate those two benches so you have a aisle to walk in the middle, so people don't have to slide over 10 people to get in. So I'll be asking for that on a supplement. But as soon as that gets done, we'll finish up the carpet and get the new benches in. I've also cleaned up the landscaping around the courthouse. If you have driven around that lately, we tore out the overgrown areas and opened up spaces to avoid hiding places. During this process, several items were found, including an entire backpack, which I have no idea how long it had been there, but people hide things that they couldn't bring into the courthouse years ago. They would hide things, and if they got arrested, they wouldn't come back and get them. So they found all kinds of cool things. So we opened that up, and now you can't hide anything. The plants are more of an upright, tall type of a plant where you can't hide things underneath it and around it. And then the other thing that I'm most proud of is there's new shrubs that have been planted around the Vietnam Memorial. It no longer like swallows it up. There's two plants that are going to stay low, and they're going to stay away from the memorial so you can actually see it. And I believe that is it. Any questions for the sheriff's report?
I just want to say, I think the landscaping looks beautiful, and I'm noticing that more people are using the benches, like around them. So kudos.
Thank you.
Sheriff, what weeks are the patrol officers training in at school?
It's 14.
Once they're almost done?
Yeah, August 22nd is our graduation. So is that 14 or 13, whatever the 22nd is? That 2 weeks away, 3 weeks away? 2.5.
That'll still put us at two more we need. 3 more?
3. We're still down 3.
Any more questions for the sheriff? Thank you, Sheriff. 7.2, Emergency Management Agency Director Johnson.
Good evening. The EMA report, July 19th, last month, we met with the Winnebago County ESTA organization, preparations for their upcoming mass casualty drill, October 6th in Fort Valley. It's quite an extensive drill. I'm looking forward to being a part of it. Good training for us and good experience for us in being a part of the drill. Our office assisted with the Stephenson County Fair this year, as usual. 7. Our UTV was utilized by the sheriff's office and his auxiliary unit. It was a good break-in for the right now. We found out that the AC, while the working, we got it. It's out now. That's all under warranty. We're gonna take it out, get the fluids changed, and get the warranty work done. I found a couple other issues I want to tweak and fix for us. Other than that, overall, we're real happy with the unit, and I got positive feedback from the sheriff's auxiliary on that. A meeting was held, it was July 9th, our last public safety and property meeting. There was a discussion about the closure of Star Ambulance service. It was revealed that night that Star was going to be back in service on July 11th. There was a lot of discussion. Was there last couple hours. Just kind of rehash same issues that we have. We know that there are types of ambulances in the county. There's no real good answers. The county was brought up briefly at the end, but luckily there wasn't a whole lot of conversation concerning about that. There is some talk about the county trying to undertake some type of an ambulance service program, but that is, I mean, just startup costs, we're probably looking at $2.5 million startup. So I mean, it's just money that's just not there. And it's just way, way too much for us to handle at this time. Nonetheless, it was good discussion. Stand trying to help each other, and it was also discussed too with mutual aid. Means that mutual aid, it's reciprocative, so you know you can't keep counting on, let's say, Bridgeport Fire or Lemons to keep covering your deficits. You know, you need to make efforts to try to help out and cover your own territories and assist Bridgeport Fire or Lemons whenever they're in need of health assistance. So I think that part of the meeting went really well. Brown and Gorsline attended the Region 2 meeting held in Kankakee on July 25th. The main purpose of that meeting was again to keep moving forward to our EOC credentialing. It's a national requirement. We're on pace and we're doing it as a region. I'm real happy with that. We're also preparing and we are moving the EOC down the hall from our office to a larger area. I hope, and my goal is to be done with that by our next meeting. There are some incidentals we have to do. We have to move some radios, but at the same time, there are so many radios in such a small area. It's really not wise for us to do that. So I think it's going to be much more effective, much more efficient, and possibly going to save us some money in the future having that move take place. The IEMA OHS County Hall meeting was August 1st. They talked an awful lot about Democratic National Convention in Chicago and the coverage for that. At this point, our office has not been called upon. I don't anticipate that we will. Let's see. We're supposed to be ready, but I don't think so. Are you guys volunteering in the officers?
We have 2 going to the NC. We have 1 at the
And that is what I have. Any questions for me?
Thanks, Director. 7.3, the county coroner.
Good evening. I'll give you just kind of a summary of the month, which was, we had the highest number of deaths this year in July. That was 55 for the month. But most of them were natural cause. Obviously, that's almost common, but 52 of those. We had 3 that are accidental. So we did do 6 in there. So that's what we had for activity. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, coroner. All right, 7.4, report from the strategic planning focus, community safety focus group. We have a meeting scheduled on the 12th. And 7.5, report from the strategic planning, parks and facilities focus group. And
So we met yesterday or Monday. Yes, I'm sorry. It's been a long day already. The group is waiting to receive an update of the list of facilities and items in the county. Mr. Rummer spoke on what will be needed to maintain the Bobtown, Dayton's, Brewster and West Block landings, as well as Kent Monument and the solar garden at the nursing home. He will be needing a mower, landscape trailer, and a vehicle to pull the trailer, as well as something to pull the county-owned brush hog. The focus group will be meeting again on Friday, August 30th at 9 o'clock at the Highway Building. Do you have anything, Casey? Okay. Thanks.
thank you. 8.0, old business. 8.1, we've already gone over this with the Sheriff Stovall giving the update. 9.0, new business. 9.1, review and approval of proposed fiscal year 25 budgets. First, we'll go with the Emergency Management Agency, Director Townsend.
Before you guys should have a copy of my proposed budget. Looked at a Stephenson County personal request form. I wasn't sure if you guys want to see that or not, but it does kind of explain the main topic of my budget. My budget stays pretty much the same as it always is. It's a small budget. It's budget, I call it an insurance policy. I don't have to use it very often. First thing I'd like to explain is the first line item on the top for the second, actually, for the emergency management reimbursement fund. The change in that from 28,000 to 22,400 is basically the state last year switched over from a 5-quarter grant program to a 4-quarter grant program. The actual money stayed relatively the same. It was a slight increase. I think the increase was less than $10 per year, but nonetheless, so that's the reason why that number dropped off. Next thing is the insurance or interest income. You can see last year our account raised almost over $2,700. We only budgeted $700. I'm gonna budget 1,000 just to kind of keep it conservative. Who knows what the next year will bring? And if it's a surplus, great. So I'm just gonna leave it like that. Public transfer from public safety stays the same. It's 82.8. We've been keeping that the same for the last 3-4 years. I don't need an increase, and it's covering everything fine, our cash carry forward and stuff. So the cash carry forward right now as it stands is at $60,000. I think that may go up quite a bit before the end of the year. But again, that's a fluid number and we will see. But I'm very, very comfortable with that $60,000 number. I look for it to be more than that by the end of the year. Salary increases for the director, that's per the agreement. Last year, my agreement is this year. It's a 2.5% raise. Now we're getting into the assistant director. The assistant director reflects the 4% increase approved for our budgetary process. So that went from 26,250 to 27,300. Understand that my request to create the deputy director position is not adding personnel to my department. It's just basically a promotion, so to speak. And also, while I'm here, I'm going to talk about that a little bit. If you look at the projected costs, I'd like to pay him $35,000 a year. I think that's fair going with my wage plus his wage. When you look around at the other places that are full-time, I think that's very comparable. So I don't think we're out of line there. The IMRF costs and Social Security costs are added into that. So the total is $38,900. What I'd like to point out to you guys is that the impact of my budget with this is only $11,620. I feel that this is an important move going forward for the county and especially for my department. You know, we create a position that aids in both succession planning and employee retention. Robin is a very qualified individual. Not every employee coming into this position is going to be as qualified as myself, Robin, or previously Kevin Countryman. Our goal is for that to happen, and we want that to happen. But in order for that to happen, I really believe we have to have some flexibility in the hiring process and how we can compensate these guys if they're qualified and if the county board approves. Obviously, we can pay these guys what they deserve. So it gives us the flexibility with future hires in a position that they're qualified for while allowing for professional growth through job training and certification classes. So I really feel comfortable asking for this. I think it's a good thing for the county moving forward. And again, I want to stress, we're not adding personnel to the department, just giving ourselves more flexibility for the future. Next one, we're just deactivating the line for photocopies. It's not a big deal. Moving down to the rent. We don't know. I haven't gotten exact figures of what our rent is going to increase to because we are going to gain some square footage. I just put it up to 1,000. It's not going to be much. And we pay our rent back to the county highway department. So it's just staying within the county. So whatever that is, if it's substantially more, I don't think it will be, but if there is an exit, we'll be able to absorb it in my budget. The next thing is for computer equipment. That's moving from 5,000 to 6,000. I think this is a one-time jump. I don't foresee anything in the future. We've already replaced mine and the assistant director's workstations. I have money in the budget this year for one more workstation for EOC and then 2 more next year for the EOC. And that's where I'm going to leave it. 3 for the EOC and mine and Robin's are good to go. So I think that'll be a good thing. Right now, there is 4 workstations and 2 workstations that have never been taken out of the box. And they're 7 years old. So I don't want to do that. I want to have something that's mobile that we can use in the field if we need to. If FEMA or somebody comes up and they need something, we'll have something for them. Everything stays the same. Moving down to the homeland preparedness account. I adjusted that because quite honestly, I didn't call Kevin, but it seems to me like he just took the EMPG grant funding and put it in that homeland preparedness. As you can see in the past, we have not approached that total amount in the last probably 7 or 8 years. Last year, we did spend 14,000, but if you remember, 69, I think of that was for the hazmat suits we purchased for the hazmat team. And then the other part was to pay off the organization that help out with the multi-hazard mitigation plan. I can't think of the name right now. But they were the leads on that implementing it and designing and writing that plan. So at the end of the day, we're looking at a net revenue positive of 16,522. If the county board sees it, or if you guys approve, and if the county board approves moving to the deputy director position, that cash carry forward would drop down to a positive of 4,902. So I'm staying within the budget, getting a promotion I think is well earned, well served. And again, I'll go back to that cash carry forward. That is as of today, and there is revenue that potentially could be coming up. That is my budget. Any questions?
I have a question, sure.
Sure, go ahead.
Mr. Townsend, we're talking about something about two items that they weren't even out of the box.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we do anything with those items? They're 7 years old?
Nate knows about them. They might end up in Chanel. He doesn't know about them. These are workstations that were probably received through grant funding back, say 2014, 2015. I think they got a grant for an EOC at that point. The EOC is just so small. If you've been to the EOC, there is
I've never been
5
invited.
workstations. Yeah, no for anything. So
You didn't catch that.
no,
I haven't been invited. Is there anything, can we do anything if Chanel, if Nate doesn't want it for Chanel's office, can we gift them to the schools or
Well,
to another organization that might be able to use them?
maybe Georgia could help me out with this, but we do the electronic reclamation. Nate's been doing that about twice a year. And I know that anything that is usable by that company, they will refurbish and donate to schools.
Okay.
Is that correct? Yep. So I don't feel terrible about it, but at the same time, it was kind of a misuse.
Anything that's 10 years old from now, it probably ain't gonna be any good anyway. It's 10 years ago was a lifetime ago for
Yeah.
computers.
Well, we're still using them in our EOC. I mean, they still work. They still work. But you're right, the operating systems are old. It's just, it needs to be updated. That's what we're doing.
I was gonna say, I don't want to interrupt. I know Nate has, when ours were replaced, he took one of them because one of them he knew was newer than one at the nursing home and replaced a station out there. And another one I think went up to animal control at one point. So I know he's keeping a list of what is usable in his mind, but good ideas.
It's good to see.
Now, when I made this budget with heads from Adrian, we left it as if that position has not been created. Takes county board approval to create the director position. So the budget does not reflect, but it is kind of stated in there that what the net effect is on the budget. So I'm not sure where we go from here. If you guys approve that and then we take it to the board or.
If we could approve it with the position.
You could do it separately. You can create the position first. You can have it effective 2025.
Yeah, that is my intention, and yeah, place effective January 1st, 2020.
And do we need to make a motion for that?
For the position first.
So I make a correction, Sharon?
Well, you
There's
don't have
not-
an action item on the agenda to approve that.
Oh, so we can't do that tonight.
There's a process for creating positions. The administrator can probably work with everybody to get that done.
Thank you.
We want to do, would be 166 or just add on if it gets approved.
You don't have to approve anything tonight for laid over for a month. Plenty of time.
All right. Let's go next to county coroner.
Thank you. I handed out just a one-page sheet of the budget there. It is on Teams though, as well. I did update that. So it's kind of smaller here, but I wanted to get it on one sheet for us. You'll notice the only thing that I really changed on the budget was the salaries for the coroner. That's the board resolution, and the policy increase for the salary. I increased that. And I did put the lease buyout for the vehicle. And I put that down for 7,000 there. It's the very bottom expense down there that I have. I put it at 7,000. Being very upfront with you here, though, we got that email that said contact them in December about the last month of the lease to buy it out. There's some discomfort in that because I want to know the dollars and cents before we get there, but that's where we are. However, when I do my when I get my bill each month, I log in for that, and part of that sheet that's there on the vehicle, there is the book value listed on there, and the book value is 10,096.55, so it's 10,096 and 55 cents right now. And our contract that we have that was dated in the May of 2019 shows a reduction of book value of $5,763.20. So $5,763.20 is what our reduction is supposed to be of the book value. That comes to $4,333.35. For the buyout is what it should be. Now, I've never done a lease before personally, so I did the 7,000 strictly to cover ourselves in case of, fluctuations of purchasing the vehicle and things like that. So it was only $400 difference of what we had in the budget before. But the advantage of us buying that out is the next year you don't have to budget for that. And the vehicle has 43,000 miles. Not telling you it's my favorite vehicle to have, but the reality is the stewardship of it would be for us to keep that for a few years. So on that one, but otherwise I just carry the budget over. I'm in a unique situation where last year at this time I was already not spending anything because of what we had for autopsies and inquests. This year, as of now, we're looking okay there. And so it looks like I'll be able to resupply and pick up some things as we go here so that I have things under control as the new coroner takes the position here. But we're totally reactive and our budget, needs to flow as that goes. But we were able to keep in the budget last year because of them changing the law for the fees, and it increased and we had more revenue there. But so I didn't spend anything that I didn't absolutely have to last year. So, but like I said, I think we're good with the budget. I think the budget's real and should be a decent budget for next year. Any questions for me?
Questions for coroner? On for the sheriff's budgets, corrections, law enforcement, merit commission, courthouse building, public safety building, and courthouse building.
I don't have one page to fill it all
That's kind of nice.
Unlike years past, I don't want to waste anyone's time. I know everyone here can read and do math. So I would say that this version of the budget is 95% done. We'll need some input on a few ways that we need to cover some things. Obviously, I have the biggest employee base, and we have union negotiations going on right now. So I'll start with law enforcement, 402. The first one you see is the department head. The increase there is included in the July 2024 state mandate. That's the number. And then we have to plan for next July's mandate. The regular salary PS is the 4% non-union raise. Then you can see the rest of those 6% for deputy TCs and clerical. That's all for the FOP cost of living, which we're working on. Go down to, the excessive sick days, you're gonna see that that number almost doubled. We got one retiree last year, and now we have 4 new people that have qualified to retire at any minute. Do I think they will? Most likely not, but the way the world's going, I would not blame them if they wanted to get out of this profession and find something else when they turn 50. So, these numbers are all spot on to what, our spreadsheet tells us what they will deserve when they retire, so we're planning for that. The back pay salaries. This is going to have to be what we're going to have to catch up on. The contract was done at the beginning of this year, so right now, my entire office is working without a contract. So every day that it goes by, whatever that raise would happen to be, is what we're going to have to back pay. So that's what this line item's for. I do have a number that I've come up with, which I think would be close, but I don't want to talk about that right now until we figure out, or we get a little bit closer. We have a meeting, is it August 13th, I believe?
Next Tuesday.
Is that when it is? August 13th, and we might have a little bit better figure to go with at that time. I do have a number penciled into my sheet here. And since we don't really have to take action on this budget tonight, this is one of those 5% of this budget that I'm not sure of, but I'd like to present in September when we're a little bit closer to an actual number. All right, the rest of this, what my people do is I had 8 people in my office this last month, and we reach out to all of our vendors, all of our licensees, all of our contracts. And we wanted to ask them right away, what will be the increase for next year for all of these people? This is what we came up with, or this is what they came up with. So I was able to plug this into our budget. It falls between these numbers, as you can see. With most of them, it was 6 to 9%. I don't think anybody has an exact number at this point because we are very early in the year. So 6 to 9% is what we have for our vendors for stationery supplies, the office equipment, books and manuals, periodic manuals. I do not have a gasoline or a fuel number yet. That's another one of those percentages I have to get. I do not have that. I plugged in a number for now, but I do not have an exact. That's highlighted in yellow, so I know to fix that one. Our clothing and uniform vendor is on up 10%. Lubricants, automotive tires, almost everything that has to do with automobiles is going up to anywhere between 6 to 9% is what they said would be safe. And I tried to hit the middle of that for the most part, and then round the number. The postage is going up a little bit, and that's just additional FOIA requests that we're getting. Travel expenses. There's additional training now that's going on with a lot of the things. iLet's is requiring more in-person training as opposed to online training. That's going to affect us if we have to send people away and possibly overnight for some of our specialty positions, especially investigations. Advertising and publishing stayed the same. Photocopies went up a little bit. Also, and when we come up with photocopies, that's more for like the thumb drives now, because we don't really email documents anymore. We put things on a thumb drive and then we mail those out. 6 to 9 for the telephone, 6 to 9 for automotive repairs, still the same equipment. Ammunition went up 20%. Obviously, our training mandates again are a little bit steeper than they used to be. We have to qualify a little bit more. It's a little bit more stringent than it used to be. That went up. The radio and tower, all of our radio tower things, the vendor said 2 to 5%. Machines and equipment, that's going to be anything that you can think of as far as computers or breathalyzers or anything that has to do with our guys needing a piece of equipment. That vendor is about 10% up. Investigation expense, we have a investigative tool that we use that has gone up a lot. and it has to do with the child sex stuff. The child sexual abuse investigations. It's important for us to have this piece of equipment instead of someone getting charged, going to a prelim for one charge. We use this investigative tool to break the phone or break the computer to get in to see if additional charges. What's normally happened in the past years is those have to be sent off to the lab, and then we would have to get new charges in 30, 60, 90 days while this person's out there. This has worked for us this past year with what we have, but of course there's a need for it, so the price went up. Like I said before, radios and emergency response team, the equipment that they use is 6 to 9%. Nothing's changed on the merit commission. The testing's been the same, court reporters, and that's more of an insurance policy there. Medical examinations, we haven't had to use that many times in the last 5 years, but it has to be there in case someone needs to go to the doctor for us. And advertising and publishing is still the same. Next is the courthouse building, same as before, FOP, back pay salaries, same as my last discussion. We'll wait to see what we get for numbers. And then again, cleaning supplies, 6 to 9. The electrical supplies, hardware, plumbing, and painting. There's some things that need to be done at that building. I don't know if anybody's been in the bathrooms at the courthouse, but those need to be updated and cleaned and torn out and fixed. We've got the two bathrooms on the first floor. When you come in to go to your meeting in courtroom 5 or the county boardroom, we've had to shut those off because they keep leaking. They have old fixtures and things like that. So this small increase, which is basically $500 per line item, is going to be put into the bathrooms through the basement all the way to the 3rd floor. We have to update those, clean them, and fix that. So it's the same. Advertising and publishing is the same. Oh no, that's $500 for advertising and publishing. There's some apps and some licenses that we have to renew, and those have gone up a little bit in price. Natural gas, electric, water, and sewer, all have gone up 6 to 9. Garbage disposal has gone up 10%. Pest control has gone up 10%. That's from our vendor. The environmental, again, the inflation increase plus the projects that we have going on with the bathrooms and any type of air type of situation or water situation we have. I'm a little nervous about the plumbing in the building. I don't have any plan on doing anything with that because I'm thinking that will be major, but I need to replace as needed, and we're starting to see a lot more leaks in the bathrooms these days. And same with the general maintenance, that went up a little bit too for building projects and upgrades. The interior cleaning, the vendor said 9% increase. As you've seen before with the painting and decor, I've added some $250 to that just because we're continuing to paint everything. We still have hallways to do, railings to do, steps to do, walls to do. So as little as I can get, or as much as I can get, I'll do as much as I can with what I have. Landscaping, that's always a problem. We have to keep the weeds down, and cleaning up what we did this year. We're going to keep that going, and equipment stayed the same. Public safety building. See what that says there. Back pay, I've already talked about that. Cleaning supplies, we pretty much keep that the same. If we need to beg, borrow, or steal, I'll just take some supplies from the courthouse. This public safety building is not used at the frequency that the courthouse is used. Paper supplies over there, though, that does have a little bit of an increase because of the inflation. And then electrical and plumbing and painting also at the PSB projects going up $100 to $50, or $50 to $100 for some projects there. We do have to take care of that front foyer area where the public does come in. Natural gas, electrical service, water and sewer, all that same 6 to 9, which is going across the board for the building. Again, the pest control is 10%. Maintenance, environmental, additional upgrades. That one's good. That needs some things done with the air in the public safety building this year. That building is old and it's starting to show its age. And also another $2,000 or $2,500 for some upgrades in that building. Paint maybe a window or two, just to stop the electric bills. Okay. The courthouse security. You see the 4% for the non-union. Overtime salaries is up just a little bit. We know that we have someone that's going to be out on leave And there's going to be some overtime there, some additional overtime that we did not have these past few years. So we want to cover that for a major medical expense. The salaries for the crime suppression and the courthouse deputies, you can see on the right there. The uniforms went up significantly, but that's because of the 2% or 10% inflation, plus there's 4 additional deputies now. That's the 4 crime suppression unit people. And the security equipment at the courthouse, we're gonna need to get some additional radios and then upgrade tasers. The tasers that we have are, I believe, if I remember right, they're 3 versions ago. We need to get those upgraded. Under corrections, everything's the same on the side that you saw before for the budget notes. Excessive sick days again went up because we have additional retirees, and the retirees from this generation, which is basically my age, we didn't take sick time, so we kept it in case something would happen. Well, we have an additional 4, I believe, I think it's 4 additional people that can retire at the corrections now that we did not have last year. So that's why that increased so much. Back pay salary, I've already discussed. And then again, these numbers are the same as they are from the other sheets: stationary supplies, computer supplies, all of this stuff. For our food, that's always a big one. Airmark has indicated 3 to 5% increase at this time. Our medical provider is a 5% increase for our medical and dental for the county. Linen and bedding went to 2%. That's another vendor that we have. Everything else, postage, telephone, kits, live scan. Our vendors have indicated those numbers. When we get down to the transport for the van, I've been working on these 7 budgets. I do have the note in there, when is this lease up? I believe that's this year, isn't it?
Should be around the same time as the coroner vehicle.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be looking at the same thing that the coroner is. I don't want to get a different vehicle because we've got that fully equipped. I think it would be a good idea just to buy it outright. It will be cheaper in the long run because we don't have to re-equip it and retrofit it, and they have to take it apart to put it back in the new one. So I'll get with George on that by the next meeting to find out exactly what the numbers are for that. New jail building, everything's self-explanatory on the side. Those numbers are the same as everything else. And yeah. Any questions? I know I went through fast, but it's pretty simple. Yep.
Okay, thank you, Sheriff. Okay. On page 3 of 7, the first packet we went through.
Okay.
You have down dues and memberships.
Yep.
Budgeted 3,500, you're already at 8,400, but you've only budgeted again for 35.
Okay.
Top line.
Yes. That number there, remember we paid these dues are paid up front, like the first month. And the way that this is calculated is it's divided by the month and then times by 12. So that number will continue to go down. Where other ones that are in the red will continue to go up because we pay other bills towards the end of the month or at the end of the year. So yeah, so those numbers
Okay.
Those numbers are in the spreadsheet to calculate themselves with the new updated versions.
Okay, because the same thing I saw.
So
For
because
the linens and bedding, do we prepay linens and bedding?
not prepay, we buy them as is, and then at the end of the year, we get like the mattresses, the blankets. But as they go, because we have a lot of people ripping them up if they get out of line and things like that, so we have to replace those. So we buy as we need, and then we buy a bulk at the end of the year to stock up for the next year.
Okay, because we're already at $58,000.
So I ran the report from today's date. So to answer your 2 questions,
We're $10,000 over already.
so for the jail, linen and bedding is actually going to be over at 6,700. So that number's coming down. Correct?
It's coming what?
That is it. What would you say it was?
It was 58,442.
Yeah, it's 6,700. So it's already coming down. This is 2 months later. So it's coming down just a little bit. It's not
How's it coming
increasing.
down? I'm sorry, I'm not following you. So if the budget was 47,250, the estimated total so far this year is 58,442.
Mhm.
And then you've requested $50,000 for next year.
Mhm.
Now you're telling me it's at 62,
67.
67, that's $17,000 over what you're requesting for next year.
Right, but it will continue to come down. I understand what you're asking me, but by that coming down, or that only going up $1,000 in 2 months, that will come down because we won't be buying anything in the next couple of months at all. And then
Okay.
what was the other one you had?
The dues and the membership. You said that those were prepaid at the beginning of the year.
Yep, that's really the only thing we had. Let me find it here. So I can show you how that number does not make me nervous until the end of September.
Which is in 45 days.
Correct, and you're gonna see when they put the bills in this for August and September, that will come down.
I just want to make sure that we're budgeting enough to cover these things for next year, so we're not stuck. And to me, on the naked eye on this, it looks like we might get stuck.
And if you
So
look at the budget
it's now
worksheet,
$727
Okay,
over budget for the dues and memberships.
okay,
What I get to see that you don't is I get to see what that actually came up. So now I see that they got a buy on mattresses at 30% off. So they went ahead and bought 25 or 30. So they put in a lot of money for that. And then I would say, hey, I see we're gonna be over the budget because I've got those numbers on my spreadsheet in red. So I call Nick and he tells me what happened. Perfect. Do you think you're gonna buy any more of those this year? No, we know not to do that. So that number will keep coming up. By seeing just $1,000 in 2 months, I'm perfectly fine with that.
okay, just as long as.
Yep.
You're okay with that, okay. All right, that's all I had.
and then if you look at the budget worksheet, it just tells you, now this goes back to June, but it tells you like how much they've already expended, because it's a formula, so it's different than.
Trying to avoid that.
I know, so like, for
No, I
Lincoln
know,
Betting, it's 26,000.
And the other number I get to see is the actual number that we spent. which is
Right.
Not even near what we had budgeted.
Just trying to avoid.
And,
It's been a long day.
Go ahead.
just related to, I think it was this one, law enforcement, so just, I guess I have 2 questions. Are you getting a substantial more amount of FOIA requests than you have been in previous years?
And most of them are from universities.
Oh.
And I'll just be honest, I don't know if they're from universities, but they want all of the stats from this. They want the stats from this. We want all the reports from this. We want to know what the outcomes of these court cases were. We just got one that we actually declined because they wanted like 71 different offenses. We don't keep track of that. But when we do, we have to mail that stuff out.
The other one was, you increased, travel expense for training,
Yes,
but instruction and schooling is the same, and we haven't expended much. Do you do most of your schooling at the end of the year?
no, most of that schooling is gonna be our PTI stuff, most of it. So we get, that's all taken care of with one cost down at PTI. This other stuff is for like our investigators having to go to, you have to lead a homicide school to work on homicide. You have to go to our, what is it called? I can't remember what it's called now, but Corinne and Johansson and Morados all have to go there for the sexual assault types of crimes. And I know that Corinne's been to at least 5 schools already for her SVU, that she stayed a week. That's where those prices are gonna, or that's where that cost is gonna go up again next year. And these are ones that I don't know why they have to be certified every year or every other year, but it's quite a cost now.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
food for county inmates, do you know what census you're using when you calculate how much budget?
That's a shot in the dark because I've explained this in the past few years. The more inmates we have, the cheaper the meal.
Sure.
The lower the inmates, the more the meal. So every day it changes. So right now we're at 65, and we'll just say that 65 or 62 is the cutoff. 62 might have been what we were at yesterday, but all these people got released on Thursday. See, it's a Thursday. all these people got released, so the price of the meals actually go up because we go down to 40.
Sure.
So we could be paying more today for 40 than we did for 65 yesterday. So that one's a tough one.
Thanks.
Any more questions for the sheriff on the budgets? I'll make a motion to lay over the EMA budget, the county coroner budget, and all the sheriff's budgets for next month for approval.
Second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Same sign. Opposed. 10.0 comments from committee members. Is it, your idea, Miss Anthony, to consolidate the sheriff's budget last year, am I right?
Oh, yeah. I think it was. This one's. Is that what you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, this one's fine.
go ahead. Sheriff.
So what I have is a sample of how this goes, and if we want to hold this over to discuss in September, what I've done is I went through the numbers today, and they match what you have on your spreadsheet now. This is what I'm in hopes that this would look like, because these numbers, the way they lay out, are more important to me than 3 different cleaning supply line items that all come out of the general fund.
Right.
That is very difficult when I'm putting these numbers together. It'd be much easier if it was one line item that you. So the way that these would condense, and I would get with Adrian, which she already talked to the auditors last year, if you remember, and they said they can change it with your approval. And I'm not, there's nothing that says we can't, and it would be actually easier to condense these things. But like, say, for salaries, we already know that the COs, the clerical, the inmates, and the transport inmates and the transporting inmates is all coming out of a salary line item. So instead of having 4 line items there, you would have 1.
Mhm.
And then you can see how it goes there. So the numbers that are together, are the group that are together that are not bold, it would be 1 bold number. Now on my end, on the back side with my Excel sheets, I would still keep them separated. So I know what we're doing separated, but to go over the budget, it would just be 1 line item and you would know what was in that line.
Okay,
In the past, if my memory serves me correctly, this was brought to the board to do as an entire county as a motion and it didn't pass. So I don't know if it would need to be brought.
It's a lump sum budget.
There you go.
Yeah, this is not lump sum. I'm just trying to get rid of from 120, I think it was 120 line items.
It's a version of it.
And if I remember correctly, like your cleaning supplies would vary in percentage of increase based on what building you were budgeting for. Well, we added 10% for cleaning here, but then 5% for cleaning supplies over here. It was just very inconsistent. And I think this will keep it very consistent. That's the only reason why, because there was no rhyme or reason why the cost of cleaning supplies would go up so drastically here, but none here. And it just didn't quite make sense to me, but that's just another topic for another day.
I like actually having both of them. We can go through it faster, we can go in detail on some. Appreciate that. Any more discussion? Comments from committee members? All right. Anybody in the room? Take a motion for adjournment.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?